What's up, y'all? The NBA season is back, and while teams continue to find their footing, our partners at FANATICS Sportsbook are already running championship plays. Bet with Fanatics and earn up to 10% fan cash on your bets, win or lose. So even if your bet misses, you're still scoring fan cash, which you can use on NBA gear, tickets, and exclusive Fanatics events. And with fair play, if your players go down injured in the first half, your bet stays live. Make the switch and get more ways to win with FANATICS Sportsbook. Winning hits different here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to KFS Weekly Wagers. I am Shawn for W, and I'm joined, as I am every Monday, excuse me, I have to cough, by my partner in crime in gambling and stakes, Mr. Mensa. How are you doing today?
I'm doing a lot better than the Nets rear ends because they just took belt to ass last night, and that is not my experience in life. So definitely doing better than the Nets, not quite as good as the Knicks, who are on a 3-game winning streak, but I'm here to talk about weekly wagers with my guy Shawn, so I'm always excited and ready to get into it.
Yes, let's get right into it. And yes, the Nets did catch belt to ass last night, and I'll say this. I said I submitted a super chat on the post-game show last night, and I said June 30th, 2019 needs a name. And John had said that like that day still is hard for him. This is one of the darkest days he has as a Knicks fan. I look back at that day of pride because that is the day that everything changed. That is the catalyst day. So we need to give that day a name. Anyone who has any suggestions, feel free to throw them in the comments. All right, let's get into the weekend review for the New York Knicks from a gambling aspect. So last time we were here, the Knicks had just beat the Chicago Bulls on a Sunday night. And since then, they are 3-0, having beaten the Bulls, having beaten the actually I have this I have this right here. Let's do this. There we go. All right, so this week the Knicks are 3-0 against the spread. They covered, and they're 3-0 on the money line. They covered against Washington, no shot surprise. Minnesota and a laugher, 83 points in the second half, and Brooklyn again belt to ass. We never thought it was in doubt. Never thought that game was in doubt. 2-1 to the over. The only game that went under was Washington. That went under 234.5. But if I could do a quick math, 119, 219, 221. So that went somewhat under.
About 12, 13 points.
Yeah, so which is fine. But the Brooklyn going over didn't surprise me at all because Brooklyn is literally like the worst. They have the worst defensive rating in the league. In fact, for our picks in the app, I gave out yesterday Knicks team total over 123.5 at it was even money. I was looking over 124.5 was plus 125. And I wanted to get greedy. I actually wanted to get greedy and ladder to 130. But you know what? I said, let me not be greedy. And also, Brooklyn allowed 124.6 points per game. I was like, that's why 124. I was like, that's why 125 is that's why 124.5 is plus money. But it is what it is. So overall, the Knicks are 6-3, and they're 6-3 against the spread, which means they've covered in. Have they covered in every one? Yes, they've in every game they've won. They've covered the spread, every single game, and 6-3 over under. These totals and over unders I may get to in a second. But so that's the Knicks this week. Now for betting and sweating, so we do all do picks in the app, and so far, after everyone has made actually So myself and Mensa have made 6 picks in the app.
Andrew as
Everyone else
well.
has made 5. Andrew as
Andrew's,
well?
yeah. Andrew's doing great. He's 5-1.
No, he's 5 and I think he's 5-0. Because
Okay.
I'm from what I have here, maybe this is incorrect. I have him as 5-0. I have him as 5-1. So actually no, you're right. He is 5-0. It's 5. Yeah, he's 5-0. So he's 5-0. He's on fire. Jeff is 3-2. Me, you and I, Mensa are 3-3, and John is 2-3. And then also for the I thought I had this here. For the overall pick. So as you know, we do 3 of us do picks in app. One of them does these 7 picks that go out on social media. Now for that one, me and John are in the lead with 24 points. Andrew, actually me, Shawn, John, and Andrew all have 24 points. Jeff has 23 points, and not in last place, but just in 5th is Mensa of 8. But guess what?
Good comeback story, baby.
It's comeback. Now, Mensa, last night you had a bit of a rough night.
It's hard to bet blows.
Well, listen. You started off on a great note. Actually, let me see if I can share this. Let's see if I can share this. Because I'm gonna give you a chance. I don't want to say cop, please, but I want to give you a chance to defend yourself. Because I liked your process here. Let's see if we can do this. Let's do that. Let's do this. No, let's get rid of you. Where are you? Let's get rid of you and add you. All right. So actually, let's do this. View, zoom, 200%. There we go. All right. Knicks first quarter -4.5. I love this bet, and that shit cash easily. Can you give us some insight into Michael Porter Jr. under?
I took the under on Michael Porter Jr. because I did not expect the Nets to be in the game, and they weren't in the game. I just didn't expect all the offense to go through Michael Porter Jr. Usually Michael Porter Jr. is around 23 points per game, but I expected he wouldn't play more than maybe 24, 26 minutes, and he got that in that short amount of time within basically the first half. He went over here, so the Knicks defense played well. The Knicks just did not decide to stop Michael Porter Jr. because they were stopping everything else that the Brooklyn Nets were doing. So usually when it's a blowout, I like to take the under on the team that I expect to get blown out because their guys are not going to be in long enough. It just didn't work out this time.
Do want to give you props for Seattle -7. You want to talk about belt to ass. That was 35-0. The 2 things I want to call out. One, bad beat with OG Anunoby.
Terrible.
Terrible.
He had 6 made field goals, I think.
He had 6 made field goals, but again, because it was a blowout, he got pulled with like 6 minutes left in the 4th quarter and never got back in the game. The other thing I want to point out, and I don't complain me at all, is your parlay. Deuce 2 +3s, and I call this out because in the app picks, it would have been a clean sweep, except for Jeff picked Deuce over 9.5 points, and Deuce scored as many points as you did last night.
Disappointing, man. It's like, especially in a blowout game, you expect the bench guys to get a little more run. He played 16 minutes last night. I mean, that was one of my fears when Deuce wasn't named a starter, is that he would end up something like an 8th or 9th man. And you're seeing it come to fruition, right? You're seeing first guy to come in is Landry Shamet, and then Josh Hart's coming in the game, and then Jordan Clarkson's coming in the game, and then you got Deuce. So it's kind of like, because he's not in that starter role, he's more in that 8th or 9th, when he's probably more like the 5th or 6th best player on the team. And you're seeing that his minutes are not quite where I personally think he deserves them to be. But hey, I mean, in 16 minutes against the Brooklyn Nets, you got to at least be able to score 10 points, brother. No excuses there. But it is disappointing to see that he couldn't get a basket last night. I don't expect that to be a trend for him.
Agreed. So, all right. So that's betting. That's the betting and sorting recap for this week. Let's get to what to look for this week. So this is where we identify a trend that we have seen. A trend that we have seen, and that's something that we're going to keep an eye on for looking at games this week, as the Knicks have 3 games. No, they have 2 games this week before Mensa and I are back on the air. Tuesday night they host the Grizzlies. Actually, no, 3 games. Tuesday night against the Grizzlies, then Wednesday night a back-to-back, but a home back-to-back against the Orlando Magic, and then the second game of their NBA Cup campaign on Friday, hosting the Miami Heat. So, Mensa, what is a trend that you'll be looking at this week?
So, Jalen Brunson points. He's been under in each of his last 3 games. That is something that I honestly think will be a trend, at least for the next, I want to say like 5-ish games. I expect Jalen Brunson to lean closer to the under. I don't expect the books to give us anything like 23.5 points, 24, 25.5 points. I expect him to be between like 26.5, 27.5. I expect that to be the line. And with his assists trending upwards, getting 9 assists, 10 assists, 7 assists, he's really been spreading the pill out a lot. And then not just that, but then with the Knicks kind of looking unstoppable these past few games with this Mike Brown offense, I don't expect Jalen Brunson to need to score the ball a lot. I tweeted out last night that Jalen Brunson has not been working hard this season, and I love that for all of us because we need him to be fresh throughout the entire season and for the playoffs. So I would like to take, if you're getting that line between 26.5, 27.5, 28.5, I would lean under on those. And once the books start catching up and you're starting to see that line get closer to 23.5, I would go on over. But anything, if the books are expecting Jalen Brunson to be scoring 26 plus points, I do not expect that to happen. And it doesn't matter if they have a guy who can guard him or not, because the Nets couldn't guard Jalen Brunson at all. But he was passing the ball around. He's moving more off ball, letting a lot of other guys get involved. And I think Mike Brown, right now, I think what the Knicks are trying to do is they're trying their best to integrate Karl-Anthony Towns into the offense with the DHOs. Shout out to our own Benji Ritholtz, who had a great breakdown on this. I would expect Karl Towns to probably have more points and more assists. I would go with his overs, but Jalen Brunson, I would be taking his unders for the next 3 to 4 games, see how it goes. But like tomorrow night, I'm sure I'm going to be taking Jalen Brunson's under against Memphis.
Okay. No, that's a good call out, because I think there were a couple times where we were looking at, Jalen Brunson's going to put this team in a spliff, but clearly what we are seeing from the Knicks and from Mike Brown as head coach is that a more egalitarian offense, a more sharing the ball, like less save us 11, and I think that's that's kind of where we want to be. When we're looking at players. I think that's a good trend to look for. My trend is Knicks team total overs. Like this team is putting teams in a spliff. Simple as that. I'm trying to find, I had a tab up here. Yeah, like the Knicks in their 6 wins have scored, their lowest point total is 105 points. Yes, 105 points. They scored 119 against Cleveland, 105 against Boston, 120 against Chicago, 119 against Washington, 137 against Minnesota, 134 against Brooklyn. And even their losses, their lowest output is 107. That was the game against Miami in Miami. And 1, they got to South Beach late. But 2, even if you get to South Beach at 2 a.m., it's still South Beach. You could find some stuff to do. That game against Milwaukee where they scored 111, that's when they were that was an anomaly. Not an anomaly, but that was a game where they scored 71 points in the first half, and finished with 111, which is unbelievable. And then Chicago, they scored 125. Listen, this team can score. This team can absolutely score, and I think I will be looking at a number around 125 points this week. Right now, the Knicks are second in offensive rating. They are at 122 points, 122.8 points per 100 possessions. I mean, it's going to get better. Obviously, I don't think they're going to be, scoring 140 every night. But the Knicks are scoring. Where are their points per game? They're 9th at points per game at 120. So I would tell you this: use this as your baseline. Here's a tip for you also, and it's something I did when I gave out Brooklyn yesterday. I looked at Brooklyn's. As I said earlier, I looked at their defensive rating, which is points per 100 possessions, and they were last. And I saw that they gave up 124 6 points per game. So if you have a high scoring team and you see that, and they're playing as a team, let's take Brooklyn for example. Brooklyn gives them 124.6 points per game. I go to Fanatics Sportsbook, and they had 123.5 at even money. That's an automatic bet. Right? And if you want to get a little frisky, and like I said, over 124.5 was plus 125, you want to do that as well? Yeah. But if the number that Fanatics is giving out is at or around the team that they're playing average, especially if you get plus money on that, go ahead and go for it. And the other thing I'll say is this: this is why we look at trends. If it doesn't hit the first time, don't go away from it. You got to go back to it. Like, the last thing you want to do is you bet an over. It doesn't, like, for example, the Knicks play the Grizzlies. Let's say the over doesn't hit on Tuesday. You don't want to be like, oh, it didn't hit this one time of the 73, 73 games left. I'm not betting this again. And then Wednesday against the Magic and Friday against the Heat, they put them in a spliff. And then you're like, wow, I didn't bet. So you got to stay consistent. If it's a trend, trust your reads, follow the trends. Anything else, Mensa?
No, I think that's great advice. I just want to add that what would keep somebody from going away from a trend is not having unit discipline. You got to have unit discipline. You got to know where you're comfortable with, because if you think that, hey, Mensa and Shawn are giving great plays, I'm going to put everything on this one, and it doesn't hit, please don't hold us accountable for that. Unit discipline is very important, and make sure that you keep to that so that you can stay in the game for the long run and you can trust those reads and trust those trends.
Absolutely. All right. So those are our trends for the things to look for this week. Mensa will be looking at Jalen Brunson under points. And I'll be looking at Knicks team total overs. Because also, again, the Knicks have 3 more games at home. So even though they do have now the Miami game, well, either the Miami game or the Magic game will concern me, because the Miami game will be a third game in 4 nights, and the Magic game will be the second game of a back-to-back. But so tread slightly with caution, but definitely against the Grizzlies, I'll be looking at the team totals tomorrow. I'll be looking at team totals for that game. All right, let us get to our future segment where we look at the futures. We look at the futures week to week to see how. And one reason we look at this is to give you an idea of like what you may be thinking and how reactive you may be or not be, may be the opposite of what Fanatics is doing, right? So, for example, let's start here. To win a championship, Fanatics has them at 10-1, which is 4th. They have the fourth best odds, and I actually have a graphic for that I'm going to put up right here. There we go. So the Knicks have the 4th best odds. Let me move this out the way. The Knicks have the 4th best odds to win a championship. Now, interestingly enough, last week, Mensa, do you know what their odds were to win the title last week?
I believe it was 10-1 again, right? They haven't moved.
They have not moved. Now, here's something else. What do you think it was the week before? So this was the morning of October 27th.
I don't remember these odds moving. I think they've been 10-1 the entire time.
They've been 10-1 the entire time. So now think about that. From the Knicks winning, the Knicks won 2 in a row. Fanatics said, great, 4th best odds to win the title. The Knicks lost 3 in a row. Fanatics said, guess what? 4th best odds to win the title. The Knicks win 3 in a row. What does Fanatics say? Great, 4th best odds to win the title. Like, there is, for these odds to get now, for new 2 things. One, obviously, people aren't slamming the Knicks to win the title, right? But the other thing is that Fanatics has done a good job of gauging where they are. This number, they'll probably have to win, like, listen, if they win 5, 6 in a row, as my man Shawn Geddes says, them Thangs territory, then you'll see this number move. But Fanatics they have not been swayed in either direction of the performance of the Knicks the last 2 weeks, because it's the first 2 weeks of the season, right? Looking at conference winners. So the Knicks, again, they are plus 350. Last week, they're still second, but actually dropped slightly from plus 300. But no crazy movement there. I see Orlando 7-1, Philly 8-1, LOL, and the Bucks at 12-1, which I actually think is value, the Bucks at this point in time. But again, not really crazy movement. And same thing for the division. Last week they were minus 165. This week they're minus 170. They're minus 175. I would say beating Brooklyn may have contributed to that, but it's not as if beating Brooklyn. Now it's not as if Brooklyn was a championship division championship contender. So we say this to say there's not really certain markets will be reactive. Future markets are much more proactive. What say you, Mensa, about these numbers?
Yeah, I think the books are not surprised to see where the Knicks are, and I don't think anybody should be. What I will say is that the Knicks at 10-1 to win the title will remain value for as long as they offer it, because we can expect the Knicks to win not one, not two, but we can expect the Knicks to win two. I'll say that. Well, we can expect the Knicks to win two playoff series and get at least to a conference finals. And once you're in the conference finals, I'm sure your odds are going to be a lot better than 10-1. So this is a long-term play. I mean, it obviously is. The championship will not be decided until June, which is in 7-8 months. So we have a lot of time to decide this. But again, looking at that minus 175 to win the division, I think it's a virtual lock. The New York Knicks will win the division. So if you can get that and parlay it with something else that's also a lock, you can get some good value there. You can get up to some plus money. And yeah, just try not to look. We as the fans, we live with the team day to day, and we live and die with it emotionally. And that is, I'm not going to tell anybody how to fan, right? If yesterday you wanted to trade Karl-Anthony Towns and today you want Guerschon Yabusele shipped back to Nice, that's fine, you know. But at the same time, when we're talking about with the wagers, is we want to pay attention to the trends. We want to be on top of where the team is and see, okay, if they're giving us these odds today, what will those odds be tomorrow? Can I make some money here? Is this a good value bet? And am I remaining disciplined? Right? You don't let the emotions of your fanhood get away from your discipline when it comes to this kind of stuff. So we want to make sure that we're disciplined at all times. And if you're not, the books will take you to the cleaners, and they will be sending you emails to give you this bonus, and they want to give you this deposit, like all these things, because they're cooking you. You don't want that, right? So let's be disciplined. Let's build. Let's have a really good season.
Now, listen, if the books do start sending you those bonuses and those boosts, whatever, you should take advantage of them. Like, so for example, Fanatics will tend to have a parlay boost. So honestly, what you can do actually is you can use FANCASH to boost it. So for example, the Knicks right now minus 175. If I'm looking at the app right now, if I wanted to boost that, I could spend $5.20 in FANCASH, and I can get a 25% boost. Now it's minus 141, right? Or if you want to do a 10% boost, you would get to minus 160. That's fine. That's fine. But you can use your FANCASH to boost any of these. So actually, here's a better one. So, So for example, the Knicks to win the East is plus 350. If I boost this, so I'm going to throw this in here. And if I say, you know what, I want to boost, I can take $5.20 of FANCASH, just so what my account says, and I can boost this 25%. Now I get plus 437. So that's something to keep in mind as well. The other thing you can do is, to Mensa's point, you can parlay these. So for example, if I want to parlay the Knicks to win the Atlantic division, so then what the good thing to do is like find another division winner that you like. Don't parlay it with, like, for example, I was listening to the Hoop Collective this morning, and Tim Bontemps and Bam McMahon were absolutely glazing the Pistons. Like, they could be a top seed, Cade is the second best player in the East. Let's say you agree with them. Then Detroit to win the Central is plus 450. Don't parlay that with the Knicks at minus 175. Like, yes, it's plus 764. But listen, they could lose the Central. Cleveland is still pretty good, right? So even Milwaukee, like everyone's like, more Giannis MVP, whatever, they're plus 750. It's better to if you I want to win this bet, parlay with for example, actually the Houston Rockets. If you so the Houston Rockets are right now minus 280. You parlay that, it's plus 113. I think that's a nice, safe bet. Safe, quote unquote, because no bet is 100% safe. No bet is 100% guaranteed, obviously, and please gamble responsibly. But I would absolutely like my chances on a parlay like that.
My only thing is I'm not in the business of betting against Victor Wembanyama, so I would probably avoid the Houston Rockets. But the same thing does apply. It makes a lot of sense. You're getting anything between 150 and minus 300 is a good parlay piece. You don't want to put your parlay pieces with your value plays, because if the value play tanks, then there goes your parlay piece, right? So if you think if you believe Tim Bontemps that Cade Cunningham is better than Jalen Brunson because he's 6 inches taller, and you want to bet on the Detroit Pistons, take that as a straight, and then parlay the Knicks with, say, the Miami Heat to win their division, or the Knicks with the Denver Nuggets. You can use that piece and you can build it out. Or this is a podcast presented to you by FANATICS Sportsbook. We do encourage you to use that FANCASH. That FANCASH is very special, and it's not like you have to wait for I got to get this boost on this night. No, as long as you have that FANCASH, you can boost all of your plays. So if it's a play that you like, get that FANCASH in there and get that boost. It's going to be great.
And also you can do that for, again, even those individual bets and props. So, for example, if you see all of a sudden the Knicks keep dropping 140 points on teams, and now the Knicks over 123.5 is minus 125. Well, you can throw some FANCASH on to move those odds down. All right. So let's move on to our NBA Cup check-in. So I'm gonna see if I can make this a little bigger. There we go. Well, we're still here. You just can't really see us. So the Knicks to win the NBA Cup, they are still at plus 1,500. That's where they were last week. So remember, the Knicks did not play in the NBA Cup on Friday because since there are 5 teams in the group on a cup night, one team will always be off. To win Group C, they are now plus 220. Last week, they were plus 300. Now, how the hell did the Knicks become second? Because last week they were third, and now they're second. How the hell did the Knicks get second? Well, that is because the Bucks beat the Bulls by 16 points. And the Heat beat the Hornets by 18. Now, the Heat beating the Hornets, whatever. So there's 2 things to take away from here. One, everyone needs to beat the Hornets. If the Knicks do not beat the Hornets, you can just call the whole thing off. It's over. We're done for. I'm not even being facetious. It's just what are we doing here? The other thing is, but the Bulls, because obviously the Bulls got that first win against the Knicks in the NBA Cup. For them to, you needed, and I think I even said this last week, you needed the, I'm pull this up here so I can do that. You needed the Bulls to lose to the Bucks, and they did. So now you see Miami's now the reason why Miami is another reason why the Knicks are in this situation right now, in terms of where they are, because the Knicks play Miami on Friday. So, and I don't believe, I wonder if let me actually see. This is live podcasting, ain't nothing like it. I want to see who is the off team on Friday this week in the NBA Cup, because that may help inform your betting on how you want to bet this. Because while I look this up, I will say yes. I said if you want the Knicks to have a chance to get through, you need the Bucks to beat the Bulls. Maybe bet the Bucks money line, and it happened. Okay, so the Heat are playing the Knicks, and the other game in the group are the Hornets playing the Bucks, which means the Bulls are off. So, listen, if the Knicks can beat the Heat, and now everyone knows the first tiebreaker is point differential, and the Knicks are currently 28 points behind the Heat. But if they can win by, let's say they win by 10, double-digit victory, that would bring their point difference to 0. That would bring the Heat down to 10. And if they beat them by 14, I think they'd be tied in point difference. So, Mensa, what bet would you make for the Knicks for the NBA Cup? Would you say would the group odds, and I'll put those back up here again, would the group odds be where you want to be, or would you say screw it, just go for the gusto?
To be honest, I think I like both. With the Chicago Bulls losing to the Miami Heat, I think that the Knicks can run the table in the group and beat the Heat, the Bucks, and the Hornets to get to 3-1. And I don't know if the Miami Heat. I think when the Miami Heat play the Bucks, whoever, obviously one of those teams will have to lose, which would get which would get both of those teams. Essentially, I expect the Knicks to be a one-loss team in the group, and I think that they'll be able to get that point differential above it. So at plus 220 with the Bulls losing, I'm really confident there. And then at plus 1,500 to win the division, I just think that the NBA has not seen Mike Brown ball with the Knicks, and I think that they are in a really good place with the way they're scoring and how everything looks so easy for everyone on the court. I like both. I like the Knicks at plus 220 to win the group. I think they're going to run the table, and I do like the Knicks to win the division, man. I mean, to win the cup at 1,500. I like both of those bets, and that's probably just me being a Knicks fan here, but I think there's value in both of those for sure.
So I'll say this: the fact that again the number didn't move from 1,500 last week to this week means now there's some value there because the Bulls losing opened up the door for the Knicks to win the group. And quite frankly, they're probably going to have to win the group because where is this here? This is, and I will full screen this. These are, so in the NBA Cup, there is one wild card spot across for each conference. And if you look, you'll see the Knicks are all the way down here at 11. They have some teams to jump, and they need to score some points. Now, again, like we said earlier, this team can score. So I'm not necessarily worried about point differential because I think the Knicks can make that up. The key will come down to being they just have to win. They have to win all their games. But they got to, while the Bulls losing, they got a lifeline. So honestly, Friday is a must-win game in the NBA Cup. If they lose that game, they're finished because no two-loss team is getting that wild card spot. It's not happening. So they need to win this game. And if they win this game and they listen, isn't Bam Adebayo out for a while? Or am I making that up?
No, I think that's accurate. Bam.
I'm gonna look. Yeah,
Bam is out until the 12th, apparently.
Yes.
And today is the 10th, so he's out until Wednesday. So he'll be playing against us.
All right. Well, okay. So if he's playing against us, whatever, we owe him a lick anyway. But if he's not playing against us, like that makes it more of a must-win game. So, all right. Last but not least, before we get out of here, as you know, Mensa and I are gamblers. And there was this is not basketball related, but so this is, you see a score here. It is the Jaguars are down to the Texans 30-29. It is 1st and 20. There are 7 seconds left in the game. Hold on. Let me actually, I'm going to stop and I'm going to reshare this. Let me do this again. While I pull this up. Again, it was 30-29 with 7 seconds left in the game.
And what was the score going into the fourth quarter for those who
missing
that crucial detail?
The score. So the Jaguars led this game 29-10 going into the fourth quarter. 29-10. The Texans are now leading 30-29. But hey, all the Jaguars have to do is get the ball to midfield. Like they even have the line for those who are listening on podcast. They have the target line at midfield because they have a guy, their kicker, kicked a 68-yard field goal this year, I believe. So, again, all they got to do is get to the 50. They're currently at the
30, I believe.
At the 30. They're currently they're at the 30-yard line. So they have no timeout. They got to work the sideline, but they got to get to the 50. Let's see what happens next.
Texans are trying to save their season. See everybody protecting the perimeter out here. Lawrence. He's sacked, and it's over. Will Anderson Jr. gets there. The ball pops in the air, and Rankins takes it the distance. What a way to end it.
Now, why am I bringing this up? What
was the spread going into the game?
The spread was Jacksonville getting 1.5 points.
Yikes. Yikes, folks. What was a virtual lock to happen going into the fourth quarter ends up being one of the nastiest beats in on the NFL season. I'm very sorry to anybody who took the points on the Jaguars yesterday. I'm very sorry to anybody who believes in Sunshine Lawrence, because it's been like 6 years, bro. And just sorry for, man, look, but this is why it's called gambling, because it doesn't matter how scientific you have a play. At the end of the day, as long as the human element exists, crazy shit can happen.
Like you said, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's why it's called gambling. And then also, so not only did I have Jags plus 1.5, which I had I had it in a weekly pool, like doing those where you pick all the games every week. So I was like, whatever. So I was like, all right, it's one game, that's 6, whatever. But then I remembered that I had a 2-team teaser with the Lions and the Jaguars getting 6.
Oh, no.
And the Jags that were winning 29-10
ended up losing 36-30.
Didn't cover plus 6.
It's a rough business, folks.
And that's why it's called gambling. And with that is our show for this week. We'll be back again next Monday to recap how we did and what we're looking forward this week. Mensa, let all the people know where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter, really, just Twitter at this point in my life. More like Mensa. You can find me here on Knicks Film School doing the weekly wager shows. I took a bit of a sabbatical from our study hall because life be lifing sometimes, but you can catch me doing the study hall on Twitter with Shawn, Chris Persiani. We had Andrew Claudio join us this past weekend. So really lively stuff we have going on. And you can also find our picks on FANATICS Sportsbook. Every time the Knicks are playing a basketball game, you're going to get not just the betting and sweating 7 picks, but you're going to get a nice little neat parlay from the boys over here at Knicks Film School.
Yep, very well said, Mensa. You can catch me at Shawn for W _ across all socials, and you could also catch Knicks Film School on all socials at Knicks Film School. If you like what you hear or watching and you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to the Knicks Film School YouTube channel as well as our podcast feeds on Apple and Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. However, if you are listening on Apple and Spotify, please give us a 5-star review. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. 5-star review. And if you love our content and you want more bonus content, you can become a patron. You sign up for our Patreon. We get extra content, including Benji and DJ's film breakdowns, Benji's grade books, John's mailbags, John's NBA centered podcasts. And you can sign up for our Substack channel with John, our Substack channel, so you can receive John's newsletter every single weekday. Last but not least, we are having a watch party on this Friday, November 14th at 7 p.m. at Slattery's Midtown Pub. We are collaborating with Def Pen Hoop. Shout out to them. And Sophie PR. Shout out to her. This Friday, again, Knicks versus Heat NBA Cup. They need this game. It's going to be lit. We'll be at Slattery's Midtown Pub, which is on 8th East 36th Street, between 5th and Madison Avenues in Midtown Manhattan in the glorious city of New York, which is still has 8-point-something million people last I checked. If you know, you know. We will have some giveaway. We'll be giving away Knicks tickets. Shout out to our people at Def Fan Hoops. They will be giving away Knicks tickets. There'll be drinks, there'll be food, there'll be vibes. We'll be in the building. It's going to be a great time. So again, this Friday, Knicks versus Heat, first watch part of the year. Pull up, giveaways from Def Pen, vibes from Knicks Film School, vibes from Sophie-PR. It's going to be a great time. All right, for Mensa, I am Shawn for W. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Knicks Nation, let's ride. If you're out on your bike tonight, do wear white.
Must be 21 or over. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See Fanatics Sportsbook app.